three-time sports editor, former online and managing editor, and host of Talk That Talk, award-winning journalist Terrell Chatterbox Emerson.
Welcome to it. Welcome to it. It is a little after 10 o'clock. One more round of applause. It's a little after 10 o'clock on a Thursday night, so you guys know what time it is. It is time for Talk That Talk. I am your host, Terrell Chatterbox Emerson. I am not in studio dolo today. We can get right to it in terms of who we're in the studio with, because my guy Alex Wright of the Las Vegas Review-Journal was in the building. Alex, what's going on with you, brother?
Not much. Just it's about that time. We're just going to get super busy, or literally every sport on.
I'm geeked, brother.
Yeah.
This is the time that, like you said before, it does kind of ramp up a little bit in terms of the schedule. It gets you kind of juice for what's to come. But wouldn't want to do it in a better place than Vegas, right? We have a lot of storylines here in Vegas. I yelled at you as soon as I saw you getting out the car today. I told you I'm on a natural high, so I gave it to you early. I let you know. So depending on how this show goes, I gave you fair warning. So, we go from there, yeah? But as always, we appreciate you guys for joining us. We appreciate you guys for being a part of our Thursday show, right? If you guys would like to do so, all you have to do is go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk Radio Show. Once again, go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk Radio Show. It's pretty much the same across every platform. You guys can do it on Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. The one thing that's different is our Twitter. Our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. Once again, guys, our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. Alex, tonight is episode 50, brother, of season 7, man. Episode 50 of season 7. So we're not gonna touch the most shows we've had in a year. I think the most shows we've had in a year was maybe like, I want to say 90 something.
Okay.
I don't know if we ever got to if we ever got to 3 digits, or if we got to 3 digits yet. I know I can go back and check on Apple and Spotify and see specifics, but we are in episode 50 officially of season 7 right now. In totality, it's episode 376 of the Talk That Talk Radio Show. So we are inside of 25 episodes until number 400. I actually had a conversation today about episode 400, trying to figure out what I want to do, how I want to do it. I have 2 entities on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this, like old school Looney Tunes style. I'm trying to figure it out. One side is definitely winning. I can't tell you which side, but one side is definitely winning. But aside from that, this show is being shot from the beautiful studio here at the Harry Reid Research and Technology Park here on Sunset, here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Alex, let's talk some sports, brother.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So my mom got tip-ins. I'm not going to lie. Let's see what my mom has. Since it's a Thursday show, I figure I could be a little vulnerable with you guys, right? Remember how I told you guys that, so you guys know I have a second phone, right? So my second phone, my work phone, whatever the case may be. Cool. However, my first phone originally, I kept telling you guys it was cracked. I told everybody it was cracked, right? I was trying to take a picture recently with the front of my phone, and it looked like the camera was cracked. So I'm like, oh, damn. Like, now I can't do anything. So I'm peeling off my screen protector. Can you do me a quick favor, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
Can you let me know what you're staring at right now?
It's a phone.
I'm gonna hold it up to the screen because I went ahead and took that screen protector off and realized that my phone is not cracked. It's not even scratched.
Mm-hmm.
So completely random, but on this Thursday night, I want to give a round of applause to Apple for what this phone has been through. Because I thought I was going to literally take that screen protector off and my phone was going to shatter and crumble to pieces. Mm. But speaking of shattering and crumbling to pieces, it looks like the Aces aren't doing that anymore, right? So another round of applause. The Aces picked up a 9th straight win tonight. They picked up a 22-point win, 83-61 over Phoenix from the house. I was actually in the building. One of the better defensive performances for this group all season long, from start to finish. I don't know if you want to talk specifics in terms of the numbers. Matter of fact, let me see if I can get you some numbers. Do I have numbers? Oh, Let's see what I have in my notebook. So I don't believe that these are the final shooting numbers. I could see if I could pull them up in my phone, but Phoenix went ahead and shot 30% from the field, and I believe they shot around 27% from three. And as a matter of fact, I want to go ahead and look into my phone and see if my dad just called me a dingbat. Why? Like, why? What did I do? I'm happy that my phone isn't cracked and I'm getting called names. But nevertheless, and I'm getting my mom's tip in probably when we get through with this first segment, but going back to what the Aces were able to do in terms of the defensive end, they held Phoenix to 31% shooting from the floor. They held them to 6 of 32 from three. This was and I had to leave the game. Like, at the end of the game, I went straight to the car, right? Knew we had to do the show, couldn't do the press conference. My question for Becky would have been, probably Becky. My question for Becky would have been this stat. I don't know what's more impressive. The Aces forced 14 turnovers. That's a decent number, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they turned those 14 turnovers into 21 points. So that's the first impressive number, right? The second impressive number is that the Aces only turned the ball over 6 times. The third most impressive number is even though they turned the ball over those 6 times, they didn't concede a point.
That's we kind of talked about that a lot. The turnovers and just getting them, the Aces were, last time we were talking, the Aces were kind of going through their struggles, right? And they were not really in rhythm. So when they were turning the ball over, they weren't getting in that rhythm. They weren't, making those extra passes. They weren't getting Asia or Jewel Lloyd or whoever into that right spot or just running that play. So you can definitely tell that's been a point of emphasis for them. I'm looking at the stats as well. They got out rebounded by 6 rebounds, but got out rebounded and won by 22 points. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, I mean that ball movement seems to be the assist, the turnover seems to be such a big key for them, because obviously Chelsea Gray is starting to get back into it after last year and the injuries, and Jewel Lloyd's been playing extremely well, and Jackie Young, and of course they're working the ball to Asia. So now it seems like now the whatever it's been, the pressure or just things finally clicking as far as the new defense, or Becky's messages, or just kind of maybe them just flipping that switch and finding that extra gear that they kind of didn't have last year. They're playing with a lot more purpose and a more intent as they've gone on this 9-game winning streak.
And you kind of just talked about it, because I think I said it last week. Last year was the most awkward press conference that I had with this team. Probably was the year that Phoenix eliminated them in the first round. That one was pretty awkward, like after the game, right? The most awkward season probably was last year as a whole. And I said it before, I felt like the pressure of that three-peat, this group didn't handle it well. They didn't handle it well at all, right? And I felt like they was in search of something all year long that maybe they didn't have. And this year, it almost was like, even despite this team being 14-14, right, before this season-long 9-game win streak, the group still never gave you that feeling of panic. And that was my takeaway from it, right? Like, coming into the season, I felt like the team was searching for something that they didn't have last year. It never really felt like they didn't have it this year. It was just, can we capture it in enough time?
Right. And going back to last year, it was kind of just kept kind of head scratching, or as far as some things. And now going in, when we went into this year, it was kind of even more kind of head scratching for people on the outside. But it sounded like, because go back to last year, Asia kind of talked about, she told Callie, the vibe kind of felt off in the locker room early in the year, before the season even started. So you could probably tell with just her leadership and what Becky kind of expects with everybody that even though they're probably trying to fix as much as they can, and they're probably having some tough conversations about going over film and all that stuff and everything there, that you could tell that they could they felt that they had that confidence that they could, turn it around, that they could start playing better, that they could fix those mistakes. They were fixable mistakes, and just getting everybody in the right spot.
And they still haven't played a game with Cheyenne Parker Tyus,
Right.
right? And that's an all-star center. And I think that's another thing that hasn't been weighed really too much this year, right?
Mhm.
Let's add to the fact that the Aces have 5 players in double figures tonight, 4 in the starting lineup, 3 with 12. I believe it was Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, and Alyssa Smith all had 12 points. Dana Evans had 17 off the bench, and Asia led the way, obviously, with another double-double, her 18th double-double of the season with 19 points and 13 rebounds. Big night for the group. And here's the thing, and I don't know how everybody else is going to feel, right? But the Aces are now 14-5 at home. I'm leaving the building. I told you early because I'm up what I deem to be early, right? And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I get all the way to the car. Alex, I don't have my keys, brother.
Oh man.
And I realize my keys are in my bag,
Mhm.
and I left it. So I go back inside. I grab my bag. I head back to the car. Now, keep in mind, if I'm in a press conference, by the time I get back to the car the second time, the players are probably out, right? And we're just now starting the press conference. So that means the building is pretty much empty. Everybody's pretty much cleaning up the press area. Alex, I'm headed up the escalator, headed to the car the second time, and I hear Ace's chants. And you've been in that building before. Ace, and it's loud. It's extremely loud. I said, Alex, I get to the top of the escalator. Everybody is still congregating outside.
Mhm.
Nobody's moving. And I said, respectfully, earlier on this 3-game homestand, the fans did kind of linger. Paige Becker stayed and took pictures and signed autographs. You kind of know what that is, right? Tonight felt different. Along this entire 9-game win streak, at no point, I think the last time I heard the chant like that in that area, post-game with that many fans, might have been the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So just from that perspective alone, actually, let's add to the fact that coming into tonight's game, they were tied for third in the WNBA. Now they have sole possession of third in the WNBA at 23-14. Here's the deal, Alex. Tonight means that they won the season series against Phoenix.
Mhm.
They own the season series against Golden State. They own the season series against Atlanta, who ironically enough is a half game up on them in the standing. So they're in the second spot. I believe they have the losing record against Minnesota. They lost the season series against Indiana. And I have to double check what the Seattle one is, right? So just from that perspective, if you're looking at the top half of the league, the top end of the league in terms of the top 8 teams, you probably feel good if you're Vegas. Even with New York, I still stand where I stand. I think a fully healthy New York team gives this team a lot of problems. But all things considered, if you're the Aces, you're probably only looking at the Lynx and saying, we could probably handle everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, they've gone through this winning streak, and I'm sure that they've maybe kind of proved something to themselves, or kind of maybe exceeded their own little expectations, kept on winning and everything. And we kind of talked about it. Just how are you faring against the other top teams, right? Like fully healthy New York, it could be tough, but again, that win against beating Minnesota, being able to try to beat Minnesota, that's going to be important for them. And the other teams are kind of around in that 3, 4, 5, 6 range. Atlanta, it could be an interesting matchup if it happens. Again, Indiana's got a lot of people hurt, so we'll see how they are come playoff time, and it's just kind of the old basketball adage, seeing one go in, right, and just stacking wins and playing well throughout a stretch like this, kind of give you a little more more confidence and just that mental switch when you get into a playoff series, you get into high pressure moments like they probably will be later.
Now, this 3-game home, and I asked Asia. Ooh, it was more than a week ago. But I was talking to Asia, and I was like, "Hey, so, yeah, you want to stack wins, right? You kind of just talked about it, right? You want to stack wins. Yes, that's obviously the goal. But um, the Aces didn't have a lot of grouped home games to start the year. And that was one of the things that I noticed. And Becky even talked about the schedule being a little weird. She wasn't necessarily complaining about home games, but she was just like, timing wise, some of this doesn't make any sense. Like, how do we have to play in LA at 7:30 one night and then play in DC the next day at 3? Like, how does that necessarily work? Or Seattle at 3. So just from that perspective, right? I believe the Aces just completed a stretch of 8 home games in a 10-game stretch or something like that. And I asked Asia about the stretch, and I said, so this particular moment, yes, you want to win all games. Yes, you want to win all the games that are ahead of you, right? However, this particular stretch, you want to take care of. You want to finish your food, right? You want to take care of what you can in terms of your home fans. I asked Asia if she felt like this was kind of like the last ditch effort to kind of correct some wrongs and maybe get some wins you probably shouldn't get now, but maybe some wins that got away from you earlier in the season. And Asia, being Asia, said, I don't think we really have the wiggle room to lose any games anymore. Like she said. And this was so interesting about what Asia said too. Earlier in the year, they talked about the excuses, right? Oh, well, new players, no GM, Becky's pulling both, whatever. About 8 games into the year, Asia was like, I don't really want to hear it no more. Like, we're here now. Like, it's not really an excuse that we can use anymore. And now Asia is saying, maybe, what did I say? Maybe a week and a half ago, we don't have wiggle room. They have not lost since that comment.
Huh.
So she might be on to something.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't like 3 or 4 weeks ago. They were 7, 8, 9, and it's like, oh man, like you would kind of scary there where with whatever could happen with the teams behind them, obviously Golden State now.
Washington was
LA,
a problem earlier in the year.
they were, yeah. They've hit the snide there a little bit there, but yeah, I mean they haven't, and that's probably could be just that fire that they needed to be all right. We gotta take advantage, and we gotta handle business, especially here on our home court with some games, and try to get up as high of a seat as we can.
And it's looking like Vegas is going to finish. And remember how I said last year that it didn't matter with the group, that I said don't let them have a top 4 spot,
Mm-hmm.
because now I feel like you got to deal with them.
Mm.
I might have been a year too late.
Uh,
Last year, like I said, it took me to kind of about this time last year to kind of realize, oh, they don't have it. This year, maybe it fits that trend a little bit more, right? Maybe the Aces have caught fire late in the season, and maybe it propels them to potentially a 3rd championship in 4 seasons, or at least being competitive for one, right?
mm-hmm.
Let's get to my mom's tip in, and then we can move on to football. I have a feeling we have a lot of football to discuss, Alex. I could be wrong, but I think we have a lot of football to discuss. Before we do that, the Aces are back in action on Saturday. I feel like Saturday's a busy day too. Maybe I'm wrong, but Saturday, talk to me.
I don't think so. I don't think anything's going on Saturday.
I feel like, you know what, my schedule keeps telling me that we're busy, but I gotta double check and see what we're busy with, right? So we'll see. But I do know it's a 12 p.m. tip on Saturday. That is the start of a 3-game road trip for the Aces. It begins in Washington against those Mystics I was just speaking about. The Aces will look to go for a 10-game win streak. If they were to get this 10-game win streak, there would be 10 games over 500. And there was a point earlier in the season where I think they were 10-11 or something. And I was like, this is the latest into a season that the Aces have been under 500 since like 2018. if this team at any point of this season goes 10 games over 500, we need to have a serious conversation, like a real conversation. But let's get to my mom's tip in. I feel like this works considering what the conversation we just had. Save the excuses. It's not about having time. It's about making time. If it matters, you will make the time. I'm going to add that really quick. And this is not something that, and this is what's so interesting too, because I grew up in LA, right? And obviously I don't think Jewell Loyd would care anyway, but I grew up in LA. And what I do not like, and I've never liked it, is like obviously Kobe, right? The Black Mamba. I didn't like when Andrew Gowlock got there and they was like, oh, we're gonna call him the mini Mamba. Why are you doing that to him? Like, why are you setting him up for that, right? I understand the basis of the relationship between Jewell Loyd and Kobe. I didn't like the Gold Mamba. First of all, I like the nickname. The nickname is amazing. I don't like feeling like a nickname has subdivisions. I just don't like it, right? Now, I have heard too many times this season from players that Jewell is the first one in the gym. I have heard too many times from players that we purposely try to beat her to the gym, and she's still there. Jewell might have a little bit more credence than even the average person knows for having that Gold Mamba nickname. Just a little sidebar I want to throw in, because me being an LA baby, certain things I just don't like. We don't have any nickname playing off of the King. We don't have any nickname playing off of the Answer. We don't have any nickname playing off of Sir Charles. I don't like everybody trying to get a piece of Mamba. I don't. The Jewell one kind of makes sense. Like, you learn a little bit more about how Jewell ticks, and you kind of look at her and be like, you might be a little touched like he was. Like, he's a little different. You might be just as crazy as he was. But speaking of crazy, I didn't want to cover this game. I'm gonna be completely honest. I didn't want to cover this game on Saturday because, Alex, I just want to be a fan.
Yeah.
I just want to be a fan for once. On Saturday, August 23rd, 1 p.m. from Allegiant Stadium, Alex, we finally get Dan Mullen-led football here in Vegas. I'm excited. I know you're excited. On Tuesday, I believe that Dan Mullen came out and said that he's not naming a starter. You know what's funny? I think this needs to become more of a thing. Not that people not like announcing it. Even the announcement of I'm not announcing one was almost like an afterthought. Oh, y'all waiting to see who I'm not doing it. Not doing one. Both of them will play. I think 90% of schools should do that. Unless you have Joe Burrow under center. Wait until week 1 to see who I tried out there. I think every single team should do it. So the fact that UNLV the world has been waiting to see who UNLV's starting quarterback is going to be, or who it was going to be. The fact that Dan Mullen and company came out and was like, both. I love how everybody felt like we were going to get an answer this week, and now we are exactly where we were 3 months ago.
Yeah. Just saw the video, Dan Mullen, being the TV, media experts. Of course I'm not going to, name one, or
not giving you that
tone he had there. But I mean, and also just like they're not playing Boise State this week. They're no offense to Idaho State, which, if you remember a couple of years ago, their coach had his son on the sideline, and I think it was his timeout manager called a lame timeout before halftime. But anyway,
you know what I'm gonna be looking at on Sunday?
It's a different coach. It's a different coach.
Even still, makes it even better.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and I don't know if we've had this conversation publicly or not, but are you under the same level of thinking that I am, in the sense that Anthony Colandrea is going to be UNLV's starter ultimately, like going come Boise, right? Come Boise's week. Do you feel like Colandrea is going to be the starter ultimately?
Yeah, I think he probably will.
So we're in the same thinking. We probably have had this conversation off Mike, but Alex Orji, right? there's no way in hell he doesn't play.
Mm.
I'm not talking about just this week 1.
Mm.
I'm talking every week. And yes, we're going to get to the national championship in the IFL in a quick second. But if I'm just being completely honest with you, I have absolutely trashed the 2 quarterback. My mom texted me and said, put a case on my phone.
Mm.
I have absolutely trashed the 2 quarterback system. Not even to like exaggerate, probably my entire life, Alex. I just don't like it. I feel like certain positions, you need to know that you're the guy. I feel like UNLV is in one of those unique situations where it is a team, a program that's essentially being built from the ground up. I don't know that both of these guys' skill sets being implemented into the game plan isn't the best course of action for this group to go out there and win football games.
Right. And I mean, we obviously saw how the quarterback, everything kind of played out. And to your point, it's probably kind of like he's probably still is kind of up in the air trying to figure out, okay, he's this week at practice, Calandra looked good. This week before, Orgy looked good. Or it's like, okay, I like how this guy's throwing the deep ball. Or I like how this guy's making decisions and running and being a good runner on his feet and everything. And this some guy could be number 1, but after live game reps this week, they could be number 2. And you envision that, someone's going to start and play at least into the second half. Then the other guy will come in and finish the job, and he'll give both of those guys a decent amount of snaps in that game to really make in-game decisions and just showcase what they could have. And it's like kind of what we saw last year is even like with Matthew Sluka and him not, even though it's a different offense, Sluka wasn't the most efficient passer, but the
Right.
offense was still effective under him. So is this a situation also where it might not really truly matter who that quarterback is, how's the offensive line play, how does Jaden Thomas and all the running backs and how the guys at a receiver step up?
So I'm happy you said that because that was my next question, right? Because I was going to say, could you see a situation where it's not like a negative in terms of like, let's say Calandria obviously does start week 1, right? Or week 0, right? Let's say UCLA, and I haven't done my deep dive on these opponents just yet. Let's just say that UCLA has a much improved defensive line, and their front 7 is expected to give us some trouble, whatever the case may be. Could you see Alex going in there as a starter in that game, considering he's a little more twitchy, right? Like, it doesn't have to be a bad thing if Calandria starts the first 3 games and then game 4 because we want to give a different look. I don't know that Alex doesn't go out there and is considered the starter, especially if both guys ultimately end up getting live game reps.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it is either. And you look at Dan Mullen's history of working with quarterbacks, working with Tim Tebow and Dak Prescott and all the other guys he's worked with. You gotta it's much different from pretty much any other coach as far as being the quarterback whisperer and truly knowing how your guys could thrive in certain situations and certain plays and certain schemes and like that. So I feel like Dan Mullins kind of probably has it in his mind that there's at a minimum a package or sets of plays or scenarios where they could make the switch. There, another guy will get a look in during a game, and you're right. It might not even necessarily be a bad thing. It could be just as a thing where play UCLA and you just kind of maybe want to be more physical or set the tone early and maybe run the ball a little bit more, and you go with Orgy and you try to maybe set it that way, or vice versa in a different game, just to keep the defense honest and to keep them on their toes.
I'm so excited to see what Jet Thomas does this year.
Yeah.
I have no other words. That's it.
Yeah.
I just want to see. I just want to see what happens because I was almost sure, and I don't know him super well enough to be like, oh, I thought he was out the door. A personal belief was that he would leave.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he stayed as soon as I found out he was staying, I was like, oh, the rest of the Mountain West should be kind of worried. Like he probably could have went to a Power 4 school and been Power 5 school now, right? And been an integral part of a team that is seen on a more national stage, right? At least perceived to be seen on a more national stage. I'm excited to see what he does this season too, especially because I felt like last year there were certain moments where, as great as the run game looked as a whole, I was looking at him and was like, he hasn't gotten out the blocks yet. Like, the run game looks great, and potentially our best running back wasn't having the best game in a couple of those games last year. Still ended up with over 900 yards on the ground. But that game does take place on Saturday. Why is my mic so hot? That game does take place on Saturday, 1 p.m. from Allegiant Stadium, a place that will be seeing us a lot, brother, over the next couple of months. Speaking of that, or before we get to the Raiders, actually, because that is coming up next, Alex, we have a championship to play for. We have a championship to play for, man. The Vegas Nighthawks have their first bout for a national championship in team history and franchise history. I believe this is year 3. Yeah, this is year 3 for Vegas. 5 wins in year 1, 11 wins in the number 2 overall seed in year 2. Year 3, you make your first national championship. And now you have to go against a high-powered Green Bay Blizzard team. I'm not sure, Alex, if you caught Monday's show, but I called head coach and general manager Mike Davis live on air. And we did a little impromptu interview. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Let's see what we got. This is Monday's interview with head coach and general manager of the Vegas Nighthawks, Mike Davis. If you guys listened to the show, tuned into the show at any capacity on Monday, you've heard this. If not, here it goes. Let's see what we got. Actually, because we are officially in National Championship Week. Let's see what we got. We are officially in National Championship Week, and it's Vegas's first crack at it, right? Now, I'm going to try to do this off the cuff. And I believe that we have this person online right now, head coach and general manager of your Vegas Nighthawks. Mike Davis is on the phone with us. Mike, can you hear me?
Hey, Terrell, how are you, buddy?
My guy, Mike, what's going on with you, brother? So, again, we thank you for even giving us some time. I actually got word that you guys may be doing something in-house right now, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I'm going to do this from the cuff. I'm going to do this off the cuff, rather, and I'm going to try to just get anybody who hasn't paid attention to this Nighthawk season. Boy, they have missed something special. Mike, I just had the conversation with Quentin Randolph maybe a week ago, and I said, dog, from 4-4 to now competing for the franchise's first national championship. Mike, how did you guys get here?
I think the guys just bought in, right? Like, we had some tough losses early, where it was self-inflicted, right? It wasn't like teams were just so much better than us. We knew we had a fantastic football team. It's just we couldn't get out of our own way. And once we cleaned that up, things started falling into place. And, we've played really good complimentary football the last 6-7 weeks of the season, and that's what it takes to get hot at the right time.
And that's the thing, right? Football is one of those sports where it definitely lends to that. You get hot at the right time and you can win it all. But I want to go back and see if you remember. We were 4 weeks into the year, I believe. And I lied to you, Mike. Maybe it was 5 weeks into the year. And we know how wonky this season started for Vegas, right? In terms of an off week and then having a bye week early. I asked you, sitting at 1-2, is it possible to start your season in week 5? And you kind of laughed and said, T, we're going to have to. Like, we're going to have to restart now. When you think back to what the first month of the season looked like, how proud are you of you and what you and your coaching staff was able to do in terms of holding this group together?
mean, honestly, T, it's not about me, right? It's all about the staff of, I have around me, and they're, buy into, hey, here's the vision. This is what we got to do to put it together. And, when you have a offense that can score at will, and the defense you have to find your footing eventually. And we've been able to do that, and we got to continue to do that because we're going to play a really tough Green Bay team.
And that was actually what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to talk about the offense and the defense, and then we'll get to that national title game. But you are one of, obviously, when you hear Coach for a quick second, only because I just heard somebody in the chat just said that maybe we couldn't hear them or that they couldn't hear Mike. So we're cutting it up. Hopefully everybody can hear it, but we're cutting it up right now. This is our Monday interview with head coach and general manager of the Vegas Nighthawks, Mike Davis, ahead of the national championship game tomorrow night. But you're one of the ones who says it repeatedly, right? Anytime somebody talks about you just did it a second ago. Anytime somebody talks about what this group accomplishes, you point to your coordinators, right? And you point to how much trust you have in them. Let's talk about that offense really quick. It starts and ends with that quarterback room, right? Just the ability to have who you have said on several occasions, Jayden de Laura is a pro. Like, that is a pro quarterback. And then you have the league's reigning MVP sitting in that quarterback room. How much has that kind of been a luxury for you guys? I know it's been obviously a struggle at times trying to figure out who to put under center, but how much of a good thing has that been?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's been a struggle. I think it was more of a struggle for the guys in the quarterback room, right? Like, you got the reigning MVP in Jerome Johnson, and, he has to take a back seat and kind of swallow his pride. And this day and age, that's tough. So, hats off to him because he's been a pro, and hats off to Hurtis, being able to find a way to kind of figure it out with them, and those guys kind of buying back and forth, and it's been nice.
And this next one, and this is just two more for you. This next one was about that defense, right? And again, you and I, we talk offline a lot. And I tell you all the time, I appreciate you just in my field because you get the sense when somebody is BSing you, right? And that's something that you've never done when it comes to me and the interviews that I've done with you. I believe I asked you on 3 separate occasions throughout the year if this team spoiled a defensive performance. And you said flat out yes. And you said at some point you got to pick this defense up. Now, franchise record setting points at one point this year. You had almost 3 quarters straight of stops in various games this year. But how proud are you of the maturity of the defense, right? From week 1 to now, how much the defense as an entire unit, how much has grown?
Well, I think the biggest thing you have to get guys to understand is you're not going to shut people out, right? And you're going to get scored on, right? And as a DB, we're not built that way. I can't give up a play. Well, you're going to give up a score or 2 or 3, right? Well, what can you do to bounce back and make a play? What can you do on a critical moment? Can you, I use the term all the time. You just got to flush it and move on, right? Like, don't get caught up and I gave up a big play. Okay, that one's on me. Now I owe you one. And we've had a lot of guys. We don't have a lot of guys saying my bad. I can't stand that term, but you get a lot of guys say, hey, that one's on me. I got you.
Sounds like a football coach, right?
We needed to make a play. Guys have stepped up and made
what you want me to say? And then his last one for you, winners of 4 straight, winners of 6 of your last 7, going into the biggest game in this franchise's history. And you have Green Bay on the other side, right? And obviously we talk, and this is one of the things that I think that I love that we're able to do. We talk sometimes about games that don't even involve Vegas, right? Like, we'll talk about, hey, did you see Northern Arizona and Tucson? Did you see whatever the case may be? But now when you're looking at the other conference and you're looking at the winner of the other conference, when you break down Green Bay and you talk to your coordinators and you talk to that locker room, what jumps off the paper?
They execute at an extremely high level. Right, the quarterback's probably going to win the MVP. He's regular season. I think he accounted for 82 touchdowns. I think he's got 91 now through 2 playoff games for the season, and so he makes a lot of really good decisions. He's a big kid. It's mobile and buys time. He's got some weapons weapons that help him out. And so it poses a test for us defensively. I think the matchup suits us. But if we don't come and play our A game, it can get ugly quick. Like, I mean, you look at their game last week against Quad City. Like, they're just kind of moseying along, and next thing you know, they got 70. You're like, guys, like, if you go to sleep on them, they're going to hit you with a big play, and it's going to get out of hand in a hurry. So,
I don't know what more you guys wanted. I was sitting here and I was like, how much longer do I let this go? And I said, what more could I say during this segment that could be any better than what head coach and general manager Mike Davis is going to tell you?
Exactly. I mean, he's been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
He came in and he had a pedigree of winning and building winners in the indoor football game. So even though it might not have been as instant as a lot of people wanted or probably kind of thought, it's probably been one of those cases where expansion team, everything's new. It's probably going to take a little while, to get everything going. So, he has that experience of knowing what it takes to have a winning locker room and to build it with the pieces. And going through that loss last year in the playoffs was probably really important for them. And as even probably wouldn't say this, but probably reflect back and be like, oh, it's probably a good lesson that we had losing that game and having that experience of winning and being in the playoffs last year to get them ready for this moment this year and the wild playoff game they had in the conference championship to prepare them for whatever could happen come Saturday night.
So you just said that you were unsure if he would say it, or you said he probably won't say it. I think Mike said it. I think earlier this year, I forgot what question. It was the Bay Area playoff game. It was a narrow win for Vegas, if I recall correctly. And I asked him about last season. And I said, how much did the group talk about last year leading into the game, understanding that, I mean, the team was literally a play away from moving on. And he said the group is mature. And that was something that I thought was interesting because it's kind of similar to what you just said. He kind of said it without saying it. Like, the group was young. We let one slip away. Now we're here. And I will tell you this. When I was on the field post-game of the Western Conference Championship, we're headed to the locker room. And I don't remember who it was, but somebody walked back there with the conference championship trophy. And you heard a deep, wait, whoa. Can people not hear? I'm not sure if people can hear or not. I'm hoping everybody can still hear. I'm going to pull it up on my phone now and see if everything is still playing. But somebody went to the back and said, I've been waiting for this since last year. And that was important to me because I said Vegas has always felt like last year slipped by them. And we've had the conversation before in terms of whether a team can get to a certain point. We've had the conversation before in terms of, so hopefully everybody can hear us. I'm not sure if the people in the chat, maybe you could restart your stream, but it does sound like the audio is still playing. But just from that perspective, Vegas has felt like one got away from them last year, right? And then Arizona goes on to win it all, and it really looks like it can be. It almost looks like it can be had, right? And Vegas got to a point to where, and I even said it last year. With all due respect, I kind of asked Mike Davis. I was like, so I know you always have confidence in your team, right? And that's not a shock. But this like Vegas versus everybody attitude, you're in year 2 of like the franchise. And I kind of asked him, I was like, how do you even know that you're on these teams' radars going into the year? Like, they may look at you guys like you're a regular expansion team. Last year, Mike Davis looked at me and was like, Now, when has Vegas not been scheduled on somebody's schedule? I said, well, when you put it that way. He said everybody wants to be Vegas. 3 years removed from the idea of the Vegas Nighthawks. They're playing for it all, right? We are going to end our number one with some prep talk. On the back end of prep talk, we'll talk AVA, or excuse me, I lied. On the back end of prep talk, we'll I guess we could say preview the final preseason game of the Raiders slate. I never want to discuss preseason football. I just want to continue to reiterate that all preseason. Like if I could not put it on the schedule, I swear to you I would. Or I wouldn't rather. But with that being said, Alex, we've had this conversation plenty of times. You're the sports guy, or you're the prep guy in terms of sports here in Vegas. I know you got a lot to catch people up on.
Yeah, I mean, this week is the first full high school football week of the season here in Las Vegas for all the teams here in Southern Nevada. All the teams will be in action. Last week was a week 0 where some teams play, but a lot of teams took the week off. Friday it's going to be a big night. All the top teams are playing. Bishop Gorman, the defending state champs, the 4-time defending state champs. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4-time defending state champs. I had to count just to make sure.
Wait. I think we're up to 4.
4 since 2021 when we got back from COVID. They're actually playing a league game against Centennial, which it's interesting. Centennial has won back-to-back state championships. They won the 4A state title in 2023, and then last year they won the 5A Division III state championship, and now they get their reward is to be in the same league as Gorman. If you've been following along or know anything about high school football, the realignment, it's been crazy the last few years with all these divisions and 5A Division I, Division II, Division III. They've scrapped that and they've got something new. They're going back to kind of what it was before that, like 21 and 22 season. We got a bigger 5A, just all 5A, and bigger got 4A back the way it was. And this week, the teams are going to be playing, and every game is literally going to matter because we have this brand new. The NIL is bringing in this brand new points rating system that it's going to use a average of rankings of a team and the max preps and the NI's rubric points and via the Harbin points. That's going to be what's used to determine teams for the playoffs. We have a lot of stories about that at Nevada Preps, the Review Journal website, just kind of explaining all that and how they're going to use an average of max preps rankings, the NIA rubric points, how many rubric points teams have, and how many Harbin points the team has, and basically top 4 teams from the 5A Southern region go to this new open division playoffs, and then the next 8 5A Southern teams go in the Southern region playoffs, and they're going to happen in 4A too. So we're going to have this new points rating system that's going to determine playoff teams as opposed to standings. So you're going to have some teams that might have 7 wins, and in the past they're like, oh, they're like a top 3, top 4 seed, but now with just this new points rating system and who you beat and who your opponents beat and just getting all these points, you could be like an 8 seed or something, and you could have teams that have like 6 wins and 6-4, and maybe they missed the playoffs because they had an easier schedule or didn't take advantage of some wins that they could have had earlier. So that's all started this week. One of the other top games is Arborview. They're playing a team from Hawaii, Mililani. They got Arborview's got a ton of Division I guys on offense. They're very fun to watch. If you're in Vegas, I obviously, check out Bishop Gorman. But if you're able to see Arborview, they're the next best thing. They got air raid Arborview with Thaddeus Thatcher, Division I quarterback, going to Utah, 3 Division I receivers, and a lot of other guys on that team. So the question will be, where can Arborview challenge or push Bishop Gorman at all this year? They didn't happen in the state championship game last year, 69-7 Bishop Gorman. But you gotta play the game on the field, and we will see what that happens. They're not in the same league, so it won't be until probably the state championship game where we could see that rematch with two of the best teams in the state.
This is yours, brother.
Okay.
This is yours, brother. I'm letting you have this whole segment. I'm laughing for a couple different reasons.
Yeah.
I told you I knew Tony Sanchez before I even came to UNLV, right? And it's because of Bishop Gorman. I'm gonna continue to tell this story. You were the first person I text when I stepped on Bishop Gorman's campus for the first time, and I text you and the text read, "I get it now. I now understand what this is, because I'm at Bishop Gorman, and this field is better than my community college field, and it shouldn't be that way." And just from, we talked about lore earlier, right? Just having a certain aura, having a certain energy that surrounds you. I think Bishop has that, for lack of a better word, like they have that Thanos effect almost, right? Yeah. Where I think 80% of teams beat themselves walking into Bishop. And I think that has a lot to do with their continued dominance, aside from them being a great football team, right? Second point was, and I'm gonna let you again get back to your preps. I had to run downstairs to go open the door for somebody, right? I get up, I randomly sprint out of here. I get to the elevator and I said, "Why does my ankle hurt?" And I just started laughing because it's the ankle that I tore my Achilles. And I just was sitting down at the Aces game, sitting down here, and I just got up and fully sprinted to the elevator. I'm on the elevator going downstairs, and I'm like, I wonder if Alex could hear me scream if I'm stuck on the elevator. That was the first thing that went through my mind. I said, if my Achilles would have went again, like, I wonder if he can hear me. And that's why I was like, please don't go right now. Please, this is not the time to go. I was downstairs like, I think I would be screwed. I think I would be down here, and he would be like, where did Terrell go? My bad, man. But obviously, I did have one other question about the rankings if you wanted to talk about it. But since we've been in school, we've been taught Excel spreadsheets, formulas, things of that nature, right? Everybody feels like they have the best formula to get the best teams to play for it all, right? How much do you feel this particular rankings is, or this particular system is adoptable by the college football ranks? It obviously it would look a little different, but is it adoptable? Number one. And if it's not adoptable, like, how much tinkering on both sides do we get until ultimately they both mirror each other, or will they ever mirror each other?
It's a good question. I mean, I think the, looking at this, ranking system, a lot of it kind of takes into account, strength of schedule. Like, go back to the year Liberty beat Bishop Gorman. They started out 0-5. They lost to 5 out-of-state teams. And Liberty was the first team to really do it, and just fill your non-conference schedule with entirely out-of-state teams, and basically go to California, go play a Hawaii team, go to Utah, go to Texas, Arizona, wherever, and take your lumps. If you're 1-4, you're 1-4, but you saw some teams that have the physicality like Liberty, that have the skill guys like Arborview, that have the depth, and
kind of like what we've been asking UNLV basketball to do, right? Instead of playing teams like St. Catherine.
Yeah, basically.
Kind of. I just want to be sure I'm right.
Was it the Whittier Poets? The Poets.
We have played. Never mind. I had a lot to say. The first time we played Omaha, I was like, why is this the Dollar Loan Center game? Like, why are we playing them? 3 years later, we see that they're in the tournament, but Don't care. You played them 3 years earlier for what?
Yeah, and that's where it goes into here with college about like strength of schedule, and we've seen like the Indiana coaches like, oh, I'm just gonna schedule a bunch of nobodies, and it's like it's like, okay, you're gonna play a bunch of nobodies, and then you go through maybe a weaker Big Ten, and then you lose in the playoffs and you get embarrassed, right? And people talk about just the SEC's 6-6 teams are different from the Big Ten's 6-6 teams, and that's where we get into here at high school football. It's just the gaps between the tiers can be pretty significant, right? Like obviously no one's in Bishop Gorman's tier, and there might only be Arborview and maybe Liberty in that second tier. But once you get down to that, you know, third tier with like Faith Lutheran and Shadow Ridge and Centennial and Coronado, it's pretty close. It's pretty even. Of course, we'll see how things shake out these first few weeks because there's always change and stuff in high school and kids graduating and stuff. But I feel like with this system, you know, the 4 teams that go in the Open, the Bishop Gorman Invitational, it's gonna be kind of tough for them. But those next 8 teams that get in the 5A playoffs, it's gonna be pretty good and pretty competitive with all those teams 4 through 12 in the rankings.
I wish this was a podcast, by the way, because it would 100% be titled the Bishop Gorman
Bishop
Invitational.
Gorman
Like, you guys
Invitational.
figure it out.
Exactly.
That's some Larry Bird type confidence. You walk in, so who's finishing second? Who wants to? You? All right, let's do it.
The boys soccer playoffs. It's the Coronado Boys Soccer Invitational.
Heard.
They haven't lost. I think they have like 34 straight wins. They have a kid who it's 6 games. It's not even a week into the season. He already has 24 goals.
There's no way in hell.
He's got 24 goals.
Dog, there's no way. I gotta go see this kid, dog. I gotta go see this kid, dog. And I gotta go be friends with him, clearly.
Yeah. But
There's no way.
Yeah. It happened. Yeah. When you have 13-0, 11-0 games, you're gonna score 4, 5, 6 goals a game.
It must be the card invitational.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean we'll see how this goes in. I mean, there's just always been that competitive, balance, and it's just high school. It's just even more cyclical, like, and how you evaluate and move teams up. Like, look at a team like a Silverado.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, they won. It was 24 straight games, back to back, 12-0 perfect seasons. Won the 4A state title, and they had this incredible senior class. They had a kid who's at UCLA, Donovan Plott, and a bunch of other senior kids, and they graduate all those kids, and they go up into 5A Division I with Bishop Gorman and Liberty and Arborview, and look at their sideline, and it's pretty depleted. They have like maybe 25 kids that are dressed, and they took their lumps, and now they're back down in 4A, and there's just kind of this. It's kind of the thing is where, we kind of go through these cycles and points move teams up, and then they get hurt because it's like it's a smaller school or something like that. So
this is almost the Coastal Carolina argument, right? A couple years ago.
Yeah.
Want to be sure.
We'll see. We'll see how things go. Usually, like it's been in the past, it's been 3 or 4 teams that are above everybody else, and every of those teams after those 4, it's pretty close and it's pretty competitive. So I think we could get that in the 5A Southern playoffs. And one thing I do want to say is, Northern Nevada, they're not going to be in this open division. Northern Nevada has opted out of being in 5A in some other sports like girls soccer and boys and girls basketball. And they used to not be in 5A for girls golf. And, it's tough because they have a private school up in there too, Bishop Manogue. And they're a private school, and they could do private school things. So Bishop Manogue, they will, in all likelihood, go to this 5A state championship game, and in theory, they'll play the 5th best team in Southern Nevada, and they could likely win a state championship. And that's what happened the last 2 years when they were 5A Division I, 5A Division II, 5A Division III. Division I was just Southern Nevada teams. They played everybody in their league, and then they go and all play each other in a playoff. And Bishop Gorman won the state championship, and then Bishop Manogue in 5A Division II, they played Faith Lutheran, which was, the fifth. Last year they're probably maybe the third best team in Southern Nevada, but 2 years ago maybe the fifth or sixth or seventh best team in Southern Nevada. So,
and they ended up going to the title game.
Yeah, they won both years, and so they got Bishop Manogue got they got a state championship.
I feel like you want to say something else, but I'm gonna let it rock. I feel like you wanted to say something else, but it's fine. A win is a win.
Yeah.
Somebody texted me a win is a win yesterday, so that makes this even funnier.
Yeah. So they got a state championship, and that's just kind of one of the other things that's kind of irked me about this is Arborview, Liberty, Desert Pines, Faith Lutheran, Coronado. They've got to take their L to Gorman. How come
you don't?
Bishop Manogue doesn't have to?
Well, based on this new system, wouldn't that harm them moving forward? Can they not be penalized at all? Now, I'm kind of based on what you're saying and based on history, maybe they won't penalize them this year or next year, right? But at a certain point, based on what you were telling me earlier, actually, you said it verbatim, strength of schedule starts to play in your favor. So at a certain point, if everybody does take this L and they only have one L, but they all come to Bishop Gorman and you avoid Bishop Gorman, I think that's going to start to kind of hold weight at some point, right?
That's the thing. This system's going to be in place for 3 years, and the open division, it's just Southern Nevada teams, no Reno teams. And when they talked about it, the Southern coaches and Southern representatives are like, all right, well, you also need to keep track of points for, not officially because it won't happen, but on the side, keep track of points for Northern Nevada teams. And if there is consistently a Northern Nevada team or multiple Northern Nevada teams in the future, we need to put in the system that the open division is open to North and South. Because that's part of the thing that was kind of discussed earlier. It's like, all right, we'll have an 8-team open division, and it'll be open to both North and South, and we'll use the rank. It might be 7 Southern teams and 1 Northern team, or it could be 5 Southern teams, 3 Northern teams, just depending on how.
I was thinking 5-3. You said 7-1, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, and that's just the thing that they've, talked about and just kind of evaluating, because it's tough in some of these other sports like girls soccer. 5A girls soccer is one league with 8 teams, and they all play each other, and then the 6 teams go to a state tournament. There's no, back 5-10 years ago, like before COVID, it was 4A was, there was no 5A yet, but it was just 4A, and you played all the teams in like your region, like the Northwest schools, and you get like a Northwest region title, and then the Northwest and the Southwest teams would play in a playoff, and the Northeast and Southeast teams would play in a playoff. And then you get down to like a region championship, Sunrise and Sunset region, and then 2 teams or 4 teams, and maybe you play for like a city championship for seeding at state, and then you'd have like 4 or 6 teams in a state tournament with 3 or 4 from Southern Nevada and a couple Reno teams.
Do you know what you are describing right now, sir?
What am I describing?
You are essentially describing the Little League World Series.
Okay.
Yeah. That is essentially what you're describing. And if we are going to describe the Little League World Series, I'm going to let this audio play, and you know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah. The League World Series.
Where are we at? No, phone. You're going to do this right if you're going to do it. Here we go. First of all, pause. Time out. Alex, and you know me well enough to know exactly where I'm going. I stand by the best place to take in an event in the city is Las Vegas Ballpark. I think the Thomas and Mack is close. I think the T-Mobile Arena is close. Nothing, and I haven't been to the Sphere. Nothing beats the ballpark. I'm going to replay this video simply so we can hear the crack of that bat one more time. It's the only reason why I'm here, guys. Where are we at? we're gonna let this rock for a little bit. Now, those cheers that you hear are the cheers. There it is.
A three-run home run, Garrett Gallegos. Nevada is on top.
So I wanted to let that live for a second because Will Despard hit me and said this may be the most popular Las Vegan right now.
Yeah.
And I don't believe Will Despard is wrong even in the slightest, right? I definitely believe that, first of all, and we're talking about seedings and rankings and regions and things of that nature, but Summerlin South is headed to the United States Finals. As a matter of fact, I want to know who they play, but I don't think they know who they play yet until tomorrow, right?
No, they're playing Connecticut.
So they're playing Connecticut. We know who was on the other side, but Nevada, Connecticut, winners of the U.S. will be crowned out of those two. Again, we're gonna get to baseball in maybe 10 minutes or so. We have the Raiders to discuss, and then we'll move on. But you and talking about these rankings and again these regions is kind of where I ended up going with this Little League note. But Mr. Gallegos, take a bow. Take a bow, brother. You deserve it. You've earned it. Summerlin South continuing to make the Valley proud. Do you have anything else for preps? You can go ahead and finish that up. And then on the heels of your prep talk, we'll do Raider talk, and then we'll end with baseball.
Yeah. Just I mean, season's getting going this week, so just football time is coming out. Just kind of, NevadaPreps.com. We have the schedules out there, and we when we do our rankings, we always have top games for soccer and volleyball as well. So check that out, and if you're in Vegas or even if you're in California or wherever you may be, go out, check out your local high school football team, soccer, volleyball. Go buy water from the concession stand. That might help out the band or to the honor society or student council or whatever. So just go out there and support your your local teams. And it's going to be kind of hot, obviously, here these next couple weeks. So it'll be a little while till it feels like football weather per se. But yeah, check it out. A lot of great athletes and great players at all different schools here in Southern Nevada.
I'm gonna give you another round of applause really quick because aside from that being a segment that we talked about you having, excuse me, I want to highlight what you said about buying from the concession stand and just supporting the schools, right? Because I had the opportunity to go back to my old high school last year. What was I back there? What was I back home for? Oh, I was back home for the Raiders, and I think UNLV I think Westchester had their homecoming game. And I was like, I'm going to go. Like, I don't do it often. I'm going to go ahead and pop up. I popped up. My old PE teacher is the sports information director at the high school now. So shout out to Linderman. I seen Linderman. It's crazy how, like you said before, like when you go and you support your high school, obviously I went there, but when you go and you support your high schools and you go back and you revisit things of that nature. When I was at Westchester, I'm saying hi to everybody, right? And I end up on the sideline and I'm watching the game on the sideline and I'm like, this was last year, so 2024. So I was like just over 15 years ago. That was my start. Like when I say I've been doing sports since 2008, I started doing high school football Thursday, Friday night lights at Westchester High School. So I'm sitting there 15 years later on the sideline, and with all due respect to my school, I love my school, but I told Linderman then, nobody's in the stands. Like it's very, very limited, right? And they told me how many people we had enrolled in school. I told my dad immediately after that, I said, I need this company to take off like today. And he was like, why? I said, I have to go save my high school. Like, that's where I'm at with it. So I do think as much as we joke around on this show and we play a lot, like, I do think what you just said needs to kind of be highlighted more. Like, go spend the $8 at your local high school. Like, do it. Go take your friends and enjoy the Thursday, Friday night lights. Go do it. I was real big for going to random high school basketball games. Like, I'm an advocate for giving money to the local schools. Now, it's on the local schools to do what they need to do with it, but it's definitely something that we can control in terms of giving our dollar to the local school. There's worse things that we give our dollars to. So there goes that. Excuse me. I really don't want to talk preseason football. I don't know what you want to do.
I mean, we gotta. I mean,
I don't want to do this.
I see. What this 45 minutes for Cam Miller talk? I guess.
If you want to.
No, I really don't want to. But
he said, "I really don't want
to." That's what. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And by the way, Cam Miller for the number 2 is getting really loud.
Yeah.
And after the first game, I was like, things happen. Like, I don't think you guys should just throw Aiden to the side, because Aiden has had a rough 2 years to start a career. Like, and he's still been a professional for you guys. After last week, people are still kind of like, if we have to pick, like, we're picking Cam. Here's the thing. And I've heard people talk about it before, and not enough people are going to highlight it, but I'm interested to see the quick reads of the defense by Aiden O'Connell. And that clip that's going around of Aiden talking about Pete Carroll shortening the play clock for him because he needs him to get under Chip Kelly's offense a little quicker. How many times have we heard guys in Philly say, hey, that shit is hard to run? Like, that is a hard offense to run, and Aiden has literally had 3 different offenses to learn, and now you're giving me the hardest one? Like, again, I don't know if at any point during his 3 years, I don't know that at any point the Raiders have put Aiden O'Connell in the best situation for him to be successful.
No, I mean, it's been like you mentioned, 3 different offenses, 3 different head coaches, and like, I mean, how much did he really progress? You got to wonder. Probably the best, progression for Aiden O'Connell was just playing in games and just getting thrown in the deep end and making mistakes and kind of just learning on the fly out there. So you kind of wonder, all right, how many like good habits does he have? How many bad habits has he developed that have gone unnoticed by guys that aren't, don't have the experience like Pete Carroll has, or have the offensive mind like a Chip Kelly has. And you're right. It's the offense is tough to learn, and with looking at Vegas, they expect to, Pete Carroll says they expect to compete and win games, and if you're not game ready, if you can't show that off during preseason games and live action, it could be it could be, if Cam Miller's playing better, it could be Cam Miller at number 2 and playing behind Geno, and you never know what could happen with Geno with an older quarterback, right? And what the future could be for the Raiders, right? But they need as many guys game ready and that feel comfortable in the system, and they could go, because they're going to be, their division is extremely tough, as we talked about, with the quarterbacks and the coaches in there, and it's going to be an uphill battle. So the Raiders can't be doing themselves any disservice by not having the best guys out there, or not positioning their guys to be in a good spot to win games.
The only thing that, like, I'm in my head right now, I'm trying to figure out the toss up, right? And yes, I always say every year I hate preseason football. Last week, it didn't appear that I hated preseason football. Here's the reason why. Here's the deal. I think there were 4 preseason games before, right? I've always felt like 2 of those at the very least are completely obsolete, and that would be the first game, and that would be the last game. Usually in those 2 weeks in between, guys are sending their starters out. You send your starter out for the first full drive, or the first drive. Then maybe that third preseason game, maybe you give them the first quarter, and then that's it. You don't take another snap until regular season. every situation is different, but you kind of just talked about it right now. You do get the feeling that we are going into this week 3, I guess technically week 4 of preseason, where you feel like there are several opportunities for guys to snatch spots, right? And I was watching Seattle and Kansas City. At the end of the third quarter, they was going through the montage of just plays that were made, and I saw Ricky White. And I thought about it and was like, yeah, if you've been around Ricky, like there may be some people that are shocked, like, oh, he's still there. Yeah, he's still there. Like if you've been around Ricky and you've seen him work, this is the moment where he can shine, right? You're playing a Kansas City team, respectfully, who a lot of those spots may be sewn up. Maybe you can go out there and snatch one of your own, right? And I think that's what the Raiders have to kind of go into this last preseason game against Arizona thinking. I think what you said before was pretty poignant about Cam Miller. I think the Raider fan base is so loud, right? And it's a good thing and it's a bad thing at times, but the Raider fan base is so loud that I do think, like I said before, 2 weeks ago, I'm like, all right, guys, relax. Last week I was like, Now this week I'm like, Aiden, I don't know. Like, I don't know, dog. This might not every year in the NFL, especially the team that you cover, but every year in the NFL, you see cuts and you're like, damn, you got cut? Like, what does the rest of that team look like then? It went from Aiden O'Connell being the only guy that could consistently be there on the offensive end, right? We can talk about Max, obviously, on the defensive end. But for the last 3 seasons, you looked at Aiden and was like, hey, injured or not, starter or not, thrown in as the third quarterback in this particular game or not, Aiden still went out and attempted to put his best foot forward. And now we understand that this league is a what have you done for me lately league. It's very realistic that Aiden could be looking for another quarterback gig after next week or after this weekend. So interested to see what does come of it. Do you have anything else about that game? It does take place on Saturday, that busy Saturday that we talked about, August 23rd, 7 p.m. start time from Glendale. That is the final preseason game before the real ones count, man. Do you have anything else on the Raiders? If not, we can get to baseball.
No, let's get to baseball.
Let's get to baseball, brother. Let's get to baseball. I have 3 topics on baseball, not 2 typically we would have. But the Aviators, I'm trying to figure out how to tell this story because there's a multitude of ways I can tell it. And I think the only way to tell it is this shouldn't happen. And I'm just going to be completely honest with you. Certain things shouldn't happen. I normally talk to Fran on Saturdays on road trips. I damn near want to call Fran tomorrow, and talk to him about this because the Aviators earlier tonight had a 10-1 lead. They had 2 4-run innings in the first 3 innings. They had it in the first and the third, if I recall correctly. They go up 10-1. I'm at the Aces game. I'm covering that game. I'm keeping an eye on the Aviators, and I'm trying to go back and forth. I look up, and the game is 10-10. Albuquerque scores a 5 spot, and then Albuquerque scores a 4 spot. I'm sitting inside the Michelob Ultra Arena saying, what the hell is going on? So, I get to looking. And the Aviators end up getting, where's my note? I closed the tab. But the Aviators end up getting a home run later in the game. They end up getting an 11-10 victory. We've talked about minor league baseball and the runs that are scored and things of that nature. To be up 10-1 in a second half where you're just now trying to find your footing, right? I hate to say it because I don't know if you heard Monday's show, but I'm going to tell you something that if you didn't hear it, it might be news to you. I don't care what the excuse is. Losing a 10-1 lead cannot happen. And considering that the only playoff team in the Pacific Coast League right now is the team that lost that 10-1 lead, is not a good feeling. Now, keep in mind, this is an Aviator group that we've talked about it since earlier this year. They could be down 10-1, and you might have a better feeling than them being up 10-1. So, if you didn't hear the episode on Monday, Alex, The Aviators are without a first baseman. And I know that sounds crazy. I'm in the dugout watching the guys warm up, right? And I'm chilling. And I get word that the guys are sharing a first base glove. And Alex, you've been in plenty of private circles. You've been in plenty of arenas, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you don't know what's locker room fodder and what's real. I have a really good relationship with Fran Reardon. I hear that. I said, okay. Now, I already know that the Aviators have cycled catcher, third baseman, second baseman, over there to play first, right? I go out to the field. I leave the dugout, go straight to the field. I stand next to Fran, and I was like, can you confirm something for me? And he was like, what's up? I said, are all the guys sharing a first base glove? When I tell you Fran started laughing, Fran started laughing and said, wait. He said, so we have gloves. He said, we have more than enough gloves. He said, we do have one broken in glove for first base. Here's where things got interesting. Because I didn't hear this from Fran, but this is the first base glove that they're using. Brett Harris, right? You guys know Brett Harris, right? If you're an athletic fan, you know who Brett Harris is. Shout out to Brett. So Brett is a third baseman. A damn good one at that. They're trying to convert Brett over to first. They give him a couple starts at first. Brett goes out, being a professional that he is, he goes out and he grabs himself a first base glove. If I'm going to play first base, I got to start doing it. He goes out and he gets the glove. Last Thursday, I'm at the ballpark. I take a picture of Brett in our 90s Dixie Cup jerseys. I go up to the press box, and about 2 hours later, we get the notification that Brett Harris has been called up. Alex, I was told that the Aviators asked Brett to leave his first base glove. Alex, what do you want me to say?
Have you ever played first base?
The sad part is I have. And I told Fred, I said, I can do it. I said, now watch crunch time hits. Like once we hit 7th and 8th and 9th innings, all bets are off, dog. I don't know what can happen, but the first 6 innings, I got you. I can do that. I don't know about the rest though. And here's the interesting thing, because now it's turned into a story. So now I pull Fran to the back, and I'm like, so you talk about essentially this job being a puzzle, right? And you're trying to put the puzzle together. I said, I'm gonna be honest, Fran. Fran has been here since my first season covering minor league baseball, so he's been there with me every step of the way in terms of my learning. I said, Fran, at no point did I ever consider that you would be putting together a lineup without a position. Like you literally don't have anybody to play the position. And Fran was like, it's not ideal. Like, but it's the nature of the business. Like, it's what you sign up for. So, like he said, I'm having fun trying to figure out like what works. But like he said, Cooper Bowman goes out at first base and he had an error, and I forgot which game. It might have been Thursday or Friday. He goes out and he has an error at first base. And like Fran said, it's on a play that he's never seen before. He has to pick a ball out of the dirt at first base, and he's never done it. So like Fran said, yes, 2 runs score off it, but what am I going to tell him? He's doing me a favor right now. So like he said, yes, we have a bunch of gloves. Doesn't matter. We don't have anybody that has a first base glove of their own. So we're going to recycle this one tonight, for instance. Shane McGuire played first. Had an amazing game too. 5 RBIs, hit a homer, had an amazing day. Shane is a catcher. And he played first tonight. I've said this once, and I will say this again, and I know that people are gonna be like, "Oh, you said all of that to say this?" Yes, I am. At no point will I consider anybody else for PCL Manager of the Year. There is no way in hell I'm looking at anybody else. If I had it my way, Fran this offseason will pick up a third Manager of the Year award in the last 5 seasons. First year, PCL dependent year, right? 2019. I text Fran and was like, well deserved, whatever the case may be. I also told you guys, Fran won that second one. And I texted him, it was like, I don't know. I don't know. I know you're gonna take it. You should, but I don't know, dog. Like this was news to me too. This year, I have the feeling that I had in 2019. I don't know if you could look around at the rest of minor league baseball and say that this group would be in the exact same spot with anybody else leading them. I don't know if you can make that argument.
No, I mean, like, talk about so much, like, who's, there's not many guys that have seen as much baseball as Fran and have had to do what they've had to do. And he, like you said, he's got the toughest job probably in all of minor league baseball with just how frequently the A's have called up people and have sent people back down. And, it's always like, who's
they call Fran up and down.
Yeah.
Like, that's the insane part. Fran did some games up in Sacramento this year. I was like, dog, what is happening?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, who's getting sent up today? Who's getting sent down today? And all that. And, you gotta figure there's like you talked about, there's got to be the patience that has to be played. It's like, all right, well, and for this group, it's probably like, such relief that you already locked up that one playoff spot. It's like, all right, well, let's see who could play first base. If we do need a first baseman, or if someone gets hurt, who can we?
That's a good point.
Who can we play in that position? And I'm sure that obviously the organization's probably looking at it as just seeing different guys in different roles that they need to get called up or whatever in the future. So, it's if it's to be happening, probably glad it's happening after locking up the first half title and kind of experimenting with things. And it's probably, I'm sure the guys are probably in a way kind of enjoying it. They're enjoying that like, all right, let me prove myself more as a player to this organization, or if not them, maybe another team in the future. And
you also could be carving out permanent plan or long-term playing time for you.
Oh yeah.
If you know that you're let's just say you're Cooper Bowman, right? And you know that the middle infield for the Athletics entire organization, right? Every level, they got somebody in those middle infield spots. If you're Cooper Bowman, you might say, hey, if I convert to first base, I can play every day. So just from that perspective alone, I think you just added a new wrinkle to the fold because, yeah, maybe I should have a conversation with some of those other guys about this possibly being a chance to maybe I don't have to split spots in left field. Maybe I don't have to split time as a shortstop. Maybe I can be the everyday first baseman.
Yeah. And we talked about with Fran and just managing, the roster and just that, like you talk about, putting the puzzle pieces together. Like you said, probably he's enjoying seeing guys go out there and, learn and maybe make mistakes and then play better the next day or anything. I'm sure he's enjoying, as he's, had so many challenges already, especially these last few years. I'm sure it's probably nothing new to him.
And I think it adds to the fact too that you just said it. Even though Fran may want to pull his hair out and be like, well, how do I get this puzzle piece to fix or to fit rather? You just said it. It's a whole lot easier when you're trying to figure out, well, how do I get this puzzle piece to fit? Oh, well, I'm going to be playing until late September anyway, so I have some time to figure out how we get this puzzle piece to fit. 22 and 26 in the second half, right? Not half bad in the second half considering the way that it started. But they're 8.5 games back of first, and this is what I find interesting. Tacoma leads everybody in the second half. They're 30 and 17. That's a team that the Aviators just took 4 of 6 away from, right? And on top of that, the Aviators this season have gone 14 and 4 against Tacoma. So if they were to win the second half, the Aviators are probably feeling good going into the postseason playing a Tacoma team that they've taken 14 of the first 18 away from. You follow that up with a 29-18 El Paso team. You got a Sacramento squad that's sitting at 26-20. And the team that I truthfully believe the Aviators do not want to see is the Oklahoma City Comets, and they're 26-21. After that, you have the Aviators at 22-26. This is my last takeaway from this this segment. After doing my standings watch earlier tonight, I came away with maybe the PCL just isn't that good this year. Like outside of Fran's Aviators, outside of El Paso, I don't know that the PCL is really good this year. Oh, outside of Oklahoma City, I don't know that the PCL is really that good this year. I could be wrong. We'll see. I know I can't ask Fran. Fran's gonna be like, no, everybody's great. All right, here we go. But we have 3 more games in Albuquerque to end the week for the Aviators. We talked about the parent club enough, but let's give them one more shout out because they just swept Minnesota 3 straight games, 6-3, 4-2, 8-3. Alex, you want to know a couple of stats that I have in terms of these Athletics? All 3 of those victories came on the road. Of course, that's 3 straight wins. They're 7-3 in their last 10. I believe they have the 3rd best record since July 24th. I think they're tied for the most home runs in that time. I believe the A's also have, is it 19 wins in their last 25? Something like that. Dog, I'm just here to say, if you are an Athletic fan, and I told you guys you got to find these small pockets to be proud of, this is one of those small pockets. This is one of these moments that you look at the season and you go, all right, we can make a little wiggle room here. We can make this move here. We can make this work here. The reason why I say that is because as presently constructed, and the funny thing is, I'm gonna just flip real quick. I'm gonna flip to a different page and see what the Aviator schedule or see what the Aviator record was on. Let's see what we got, Alex. Okay. I flipped to April 10th, and they were 5-10. I want to do this one more time and see where we land. What is this one? This is 22-29, right? 7 games under 500. I say that to say the Aviators or the Athletics at no point this season have we looked at them and said, this looks like a playoff team. This looks like a good team. We haven't even said those words, right? But I'm sitting here looking at June 30th. And the Athletics are 34-52. Today, the Athletics are 59-70. They're 11 games under 500. They're still last in the AL West. I think I said this earlier in the year, maybe June, maybe July, but I definitely told you before we started recording today. The worst part of this season, in terms of the childhood me, is going to be the moments that the Athletics is going to be the moment that the Athletics pass the Angels in the standings. While they are 11 and a half games back of first place, they're 3 games back of the Angels for the 4th spot in the AL West. They're 4 games back of Texas for 3rd in the West. Now, again, I said it earlier this year. I think it took me about maybe a month and a half to realize, the AL West isn't that good this year. I followed that up by saying, so that means Athletics, you don't have to finish last. Here's why I'm smiling so much and I'm having so much of a battle with this. Because, Alex, I've been very vocal that I feel like Mark Kotsay is going to lose his job at the end of the season by default, right? Don't feel like he was put in the best situation to win. Don't feel like he's been given all the grace in the world, right? You want to know what might save Mark Kotsay's job? If they don't finish in last place. And that's the realization that I came to maybe over the last week, where I said, even if they don't have a better record or an equal record to last year, if they're able to not be the last team in the AOS, I think some other things in that division gets to shaking. I think maybe Texas shakes it up. I think maybe the Angels should have been did it, but maybe they shake it up, right? I think if you're Houston and you're Seattle, you're like, you guys figured it out down there. We'll be up here fighting for it all, right? I think if you're an Athletic fan, you might be in a better spot than both an Angel fan and a Ranger fan.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, getting down here to this, couple weeks and kind of seeing it play out, the American League, like who's really the best team in the American League. Sometimes it looks like it's the Tigers,
Mhm.
Astros, like you kind of count them out. Then the Yankees, they have their issues, and the Blue Jays look strong, and definitely plenty of opportunities, for the A's to go out, maybe win some games and improve upon and start to, try to the rebuild, the winning ways before they get to Las Vegas.
So I was looking for this picture. Is this it? I think this is it. Alex, is this it? Am I doing this right? Okay. I think this is it. I think this is okay. So this is funny because I didn't plan for this. And this is a complete sidebar too, but I'm going to give a round of applause because I just looked at my phone. Let's give a round of applause really quick to Antonio Wimbush, because as many times as I told you he ran kicks back, it shouldn't shock anybody that he's the 2025, IFL Special Teams Player of the Year. So I'm looking at the note in my phone. So congratulations to Bo. Maybe he'll cap it off for the national title. So we'll see what happens. But going to what's next in terms of Major League Baseball, right? In terms of the Athletics are actually headed up to Seattle for a 3-game road series, another 3-game road series, this time with the Mariners. That series begins tomorrow at 7:10 p.m. I think we have 3 different start times for all of those games. That's one thing I'm not ready for to cover at the Major League level. A 7:10 game, then a 6:45 game, then a 1:10 game. Stop. Pick one, dog. Like, I'm not playing this game with I'm not doing it. I'm not playing the game with the Athletics, dog. Figure it out. But I got one more to get to. We'll get to my dad's tip in and we'll get out of here. I believe my dad sent me his record. I think that's it. But Mr. Wright,
Mm-hmm.
have you seen this picture floating around about Major League Baseball's realignment?
I have.
Are you about as happy as this? Or are you about as happy about this as I am? You don't look like it.
I don't know. I'm not really.
Some of this does look weird.
Some of it does look
In hindsight,
weird.
I just saw where the Twins are, and I'm like, oh, that looks really gross.
I'm not honestly. I'm like not that big of a fan.
Really?
I'm a little. I mean, now if they did it like the 4 divisions within the American and National League,
I do like that.
but if we're talking about Yankees, Red Sox, Mets, Phillies are all in the same division, then that's where I shake my head at it.
So I've seen a couple of these going around, right? Now here's the thing. Remember how I came in here a year ago and I said that Major League Baseball wants to expand to Portland? And everybody like, well, I think they do. I think they No, guys. I'm telling you something. I'm not asking you. I'm not asking your opinion. I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm telling you something. Major League Baseball wants to be in Portland. Do with that information what you will. People heard me, right? I also added that Major League Baseball wants to be in Utah, right? Yes, the divisions look a little wonky. Not going to lie to you. However, I was more interested in these additional teams that were added. Because let's just say that, and I'm going through all of these what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going through all of these
Proposals.
oh yeah, almost like realignment proposals, right? And what I find interesting is there's 3 new teams I think that's being proposed, which is interesting because there's 2 new expansion teams, right? Which would mean that there's 2 teams that relocate because the A's are already listed on majority of these as the Las Vegas A's.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen the Portland Pioneers.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen Salt Lake City / Utah without a team name. And I see something about the Nashville Stars. Now, the Aviators, before they became the Aviators, Fran was coaching or was managing for the Nashville Sound. So it shouldn't shock anybody that the Aviator or that Major League Baseball wants to get back to Nashville. I've never been and I've heard amazing things about Nashville. So that doesn't shock me. The last big shakeup that I remember I don't know about you, but the last big shakeup I remember having was when the Astros went from the NL to the AL.
Yeah.
And I remember being like literally telling my dad, because you know how I am with my baseball, don't touch it. I don't like my baseball touched.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going to my dad and saying, my entire life they've been in the NL.
Yeah.
Like now they're in my division. I grew up an Angel fan. Everybody know now they're in my division. I don't know how to hate them. Obviously, it's really easy now, but at the time, I'm like, I don't even know how to hate them. I don't even know. I don't have no reason to hate them. Now I gotta find a reason to hate them. Going back to what you said before, if you have a situation like, because some of the things that I've seen was with the addition of the AL South, Texas would be in the AL South.
Mm-hmm.
And while, again, growing up an Angel fan, the Texas or LA rivalry, that was something I wore Josh Hamilton jersey yesterday. Because I was just happy to not see him hitting homers off the Angels. I was just like, cool. Josh Hamilton has an Angel jersey. I'm getting it. And that's what it was, right? So there are things that look a little weird because Portland would be in the AL West. So now you would have Vegas. You would have LA. Be in the Angels. You would have Portland. And you would have, I'm missing one, Seattle. Mm-hmm. So that means Houston and Texas would be in the AL South. I think for the AL South too, for some weird reason, I think the White Sox were listed there.
See one that had the Rockies in the Rockies were in the South with it was Kansas City, Texas, Houston, and the Rockies.
See, and that's another one. That's gonna be weird. Like now, Kansas City and Colorado have to care about each other. Like that's gonna be a little awkward. But as much as this is gonna be probably a pivotal, a super like pivotal shakeup, I think it's gonna be a good one. I think it's gonna be a good one because it's gonna add new blood to baseball. Mm-hmm. And there's already a lot of new eyes on baseball for a multitude of reasons. So I think adding that new element will create new rivalries, we create new storylines, and I think it ultimately kind of makes it. I mean, it's similar to the W, right? Mm-hmm. The W's continue to expand, and now you're looking at Golden State and the Aces. Like maybe there's a thing here. I mean, Coach Nat and Coach Becky, maybe there's a thing here. So now you're just getting more storylines by default, right? Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, brother. For somebody who is such a traditionalist with this game, I want all the changes right now. I want all the changes to the standings, all the changes to league realignment. And I feel like similar to what you said about Bishop Gorman, I feel like we're going to do all of this and still talk about the same 6 teams every year. So it's not going to matter. We're going to talk both LA teams, one for a good reason, one for a negative reason. We're going to talk both New York teams. We're going to talk Boston. We're going to talk Philly. What are we doing here? Like, I feel like we're doing all of this to still talk about the same guys.
We'll get to see 86 win American League South team beat 105 win Yankees team in the first round of the playoffs.
Oh God, dog! And then when they get swept 3-0 or 2-0, we're gonna sit there and be like, well, I mean, they had a good season. I mean, if you think about it, they really took off after the postseason. I mean, after the halfway point, right? Again, Major League Baseball, and this is what I will say. I'm gonna give them a round of applause for simply trying. Right? I don't have to like all of your ideas. In fact, in recent memory, I haven't liked your ideas, but I do like the fact that, like I said before, Major League Baseball and the NHL are two that have proven we are willing to try something out.
Yeah.
It may suck. We may only do it 1 year. We're going to try it. We're going to try it out. So kudos to Major League Baseball for trying to improve and keep up with the time.
Yeah.
My dad is back with his 10 crazy basketball records.
Okay.
And we can get to, I want to do 3 of these tonight.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. Let's see if we can get through 3. The first one is most fouls committed by a team in an NBA game. I want to highlight that this does not include Summer League because I have sat through some bullshit in my day. I just want to let you know I have sat through some absolute garbage time basketball with 37 fouls from a team. Like, why are we going? Why do 7 of your guys have 6 fouls? What is going on? Anywho, the most fouls committed by a team in an NBA game. That answer is the Utah Jazz. They committed 52 fouls. There had to be a hack of something in here. They committed 52 fouls against the Phoenix Suns on April 9th, 1990 in an overtime loss. On the other side, wow. On the other side, Phoenix set an NBA record for the most free throws made. They went 61 of 80. Alex, let me tell you something real quick. If I'm coaching a team and the other side shoots 80 free throws. Alex, at what point in the game do you think I get tossed?
You probably get tossed like once you get close to 40 free throws.
Right before halftime. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the last 2 minutes of the first half, I'm going to lose it, brother. Matter of fact, I saw Nate Tibbetts lose it earlier today on the sideline for Phoenix. He just, first of all, you know, you walk on the floor and you got to get out the ref's way.
Yeah.
He walked so far onto the court. Like, this is the sideline, right? So the court is here. He walked so far onto the court when the ref was coming back down. The ref is on this side of him.
Yeah.
He's this far onto the court. He's on the court talking to the ref while they're running like this. I said, dog. I said, if I've ever seen a coach ask for a technical foul, it was what Nate Tibbetts did today. I gained so much more respect for him after that. My dad has most minutes played in an NBA game. That record belongs to Dale Ellis, playing for the Seattle Supersonics at the time against the Milwaukee Bucks in a quintuple overtime loss, which ended in a final score of 155 to 154. Out of 73 possible minutes, Ellis played 69 of those 73 minutes and scored 53 points. And my last one, actually, me and my brother looked this up when we were kids because we wanted to know this, but the highest scoring NBA game in history, the Detroit Pistons defeated the Denver Nuggets on December 13th, 1983 in 3 overtimes by a final score of 186 to 184. We're going to touch that one day very, very soon, aren't we?
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
You want me to tell you another thing I'm going to be pissed off about?
What?
The day that I watch a regulation game and both teams have over 160. I'm going to text you.
Okay.
It's going to be a lot of obscenities. It's going to be a lot of probably like colorful language. Might be a voice note somewhere in there. Alex, I can't do it, brother. I can't do it, dog. I'll take an 80 to 79 game any day over that 160 to 150 shit. I cannot do it. I'm so sick of it.
Oh, man.
The older I get, I'm realizing that old man on the lawn shaking his fist about a lot more than I want to admit. Like, the older I get.
This is not my NBA.
Yeah, no, that's
Back when I was a kid, you know.
Hey, I know we're joking, but all I want to do is say that Saturday afternoon from Allegiant Stadium. I want to watch that UNLV football team with tears in my eyes and say, I remember when we went 0-6. I remember. You know what's funny? I just had this conversation with my brother the other day. We don't get a chance to, like, be fans often, right? We had this conversation recently about going to, like, a volleyball game just to drink because, like, we don't get to go to sporting events and be fans anymore. I told my brother, I said, you know, the one thing I kind of don't hide? He was like, what? I'm like, obviously, I'm at the games cheering. I wish anybody in media would look at me and assume that I don't want UNLV to be successful. You're an idiot. Like, that's the one thing that I'm very vocal about. Like, do I want my alma mater to win? Every single game. Sorry. Not sorry. That's one team I am unapologetically rooting for. Sorry, guys.
I mean, especially, me, like UNLV football, been bad forever. I remember a little bit of those Lon Kruger, Dave Rice teams going to the
brother,
NCAA
I missed it.
tournament, seeing them win, and like legitimately 18,000 people with Thomas and Mack, and
I couldn't imagine.
there was the 2007 Mountain West Championship game. They beat BYU. Now you know how it's set up where they have the black things that's like, and the ushers, and it's like, you need to show your pass. To
Oh yeah.
They have a couple rows of the seats up and all that. Well, they didn't have that in the 2007 Mountain West Championship game, and it was all. I'm sure you can look it up on YouTube. The end of that game, just all bedlam, just people storming the court, and I think Ed Graney, my colleague at the RJ, said that like people were coming over the scoreboard, the press table, and they were like holding their computers because like people were
That's
just coming over. And apparently, the legend is, I think Steve Cofield had said this story, but like there was like a BYU assistant coach wife or a BYU coach's wife that was like just so upset, and they complained, and BYU complained to the conference, and that's why they put up all those kind of
really
stanchions, where it's not like truly like people don't have like access to the court and everything.
That explains a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, let's bring it back full circle real quick and talk about UNLV football, because they just added bleachers to the end zone, right? And I remember
after we all graduated,
let UNLV win a big game. You will never see somebody move from the press box to the field faster. I'm telling you something, dog. I'm getting down there. But I remember I was walking through the second home game from Allegiant. I'm walking through and I'm looking over at the student section and I'm tweeting. I looked at the security guard. I said, quick question. He said, what? I said, they don't expect us to ever be good, huh? And he just started laughing. I said, what you mean? I looked up at the student section. I said, if we ever have a ranked win, how do they get down? And he just started laughing. He said, I guess, I think, technically you might have to. I looked at him and said, you don't know, do you? And he just started laughing. I said, they don't expect us to ever be good. I saw those bleachers get added before this week 0 game. I start tapping people. I think this is a sign. We saw Barry Odom pull up with that slot machine on the sideline, and we just knew, we're in for something.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the exact same way this time. At some point this season, I think these fans look for a reason to storm that field.
Yeah.
Part of me feels like it's UCLA, but the game against Boise is at Boise this year, right?
I think it is, yeah.
I think it should be at Boise this year, because that would mean a UCLA game is the one.
Mm-hmm. It's at Boise.
At Boise, UCLA it is.
Yeah.
Alex, brother, you got anything else for us?
No.
Until next time, gang. Keep on talking.